Welcome to the BrightWord Books Podcast. BrightWord is a leading platform for diverse storytelling, where voices from all backgrounds can share their unique narratives and connect with readers from around the world. Follow our regular podcast updates, where we strive to foster a literary community that celebrates creativity, inclusivity, and the transformative power of literature. Good afternoon, and welcome to today's podcast. I'm your host, John Lobb, and today a very special guest with us, Debra Lee Fader. Debra was enjoying a successful career as a singing star on the stages of Vegas, Atlantic City, the Caribbean islands, and aboard luxury cruise ships. Based in LA, Debra Lee anticipated having a commercial recording and film career. However, after prayer and resolve to follow God's plan that was beckoning her, Debra Lee changed the trajectory of her life. She packed up her belongings and moved back to Minnesota. She became a radio broadcaster and worship director and was fulfilled with a new life. God was now her full-time compass. However, everything changed one morning when she literally fell out of bed. Debra Lee, welcome to the podcast. We're delighted to have you with us today.
Thank you so much, John. It's a pleasure to be with you. God bless.
God bless. Thank you.
Yes.
Well, it's been a wonderful experience for me finding out more about you and about the book, Walk by Faith with God as Your Compass. And I suppose with such an interesting background, the first question I have to ask is, what inspired you to write this book?
Well, my inspiration really was my family and especially my little grandchildren, because I didn't know, none of us ever know, especially when you have a debilitating disease. How long are you going to be here? We have no control over that. When God calls us home, He calls us home. But my little kids will still be on the earth, and I want them to know me better as they grow older, should I pass away sooner. And that's why I really wrote the book. It was my impetus for the whole thing. Leave a story for others to read and be able to know me as not only their grandma, but as a person that had a job and had a life and then met their grandpa and their life turned around and all of the things that have happened since. So
Wonderful.
yeah.
Wonderful. It sounds like a true gift of love to leave this for the children and the next generation.
Yeah. Well,
Wow.
books are the best thing because that is exactly what they do. I'm a history buff. I love history. In fact, I just finished watching the 2,000 years history of the popes. And that was very, very intriguing and very entertaining, but also very educational. So there's so much to learn and so many ways that we can learn, but books really are the reason to live outside of yourself and also learn other things. It's a great exercise in your mental capabilities to read books. So now that story I was telling you about, it originally was a book, and then they made it into a documentary. So that's what books can do.
Absolutely. That's the power of books. And that's why we so enjoy putting this podcast together is to bring authors such as yourself with the most interesting stories in the world, bringing them to life for the audience. So
Thank
I
you.
have to ask you though, it sounded like you had a dream life. A lot of people would dream of being a singer and having people applaud for you
Yeah.
and having attention and adoration and starring in shows. And today's viewers might be saying, she gave all of that up to
Yep.
go home to Minnesota.
Yep. I
Can
did.
you talk a little bit about the personal faith journey that led you home to Minnesota?
Well, I had been performing on all of these stages I had started when I was 13. I was in a polka band that is now in the state Hall of Fame for music, and that was the Dick Macco Orchestra. So I started singing at a very young age professionally, and when I was turning an older age and I'm competing with everybody on the stage who they're in their is like I was when I first hit the main stages. It got to be a little trying, and I just didn't want somebody to come up and say, "Hey, you, get off the stage. You're getting old." So I thought I picked a night that I wanted to have my swan song. And I sang my heart out. I knew it was the swan song, and I decided that it was time to leave. But there were many steps that came before that. The most important one for me was that I was struggling with the fact that I had been singing all these beautiful songs. I still adore the songs, but they were making me feel inside smaller and smaller and more lonely. And also, I just did not feel inspired. My singing for me was as though my eyes were crying. Now, someone else would say, oh, she was crying for joy or whatever. But physically, I didn't cry on stage. But when I would leave, I would just feel that tug to let the tears go because I wasn't doing my calling anymore. I knew there was something else out there. When I got off the stage one night when everyone else was so excited, oh, what a great show, and oh, the audience was so great. And I was just saying to myself, God, I don't want to sing anymore in this way. I only want to sing for you. I only want to sing for you. And I kept saying that. That was my mantra. And I kept saying that. And that went on for probably 2 years before I actually left the stage. And finally, I had the opportunity to leave, and I had a house in LA. I just kind of let it all go pretty much and packed up my things and decided it was time to move home for a while because I missed my roots. I missed my family. My little nieces and nephews were growing up all around me, and I was missing all the first steps and all the fun when they would throw their food around on the table or whatever they were experimenting with as they're learning to be human beings. So I was missing all of that. And, to just go home for maybe 3 or 4 days a year just wasn't cutting it for me anymore. And I felt that I had to have a life. I mean, the life I was living, yes, it was luxurious. It was very glamorous. And yeah, you would think she's just charmed. She's had so many great things happen, but nobody knows what's going on the other side of the curtain. And there were some desperate times for me. I detail them in my book. However, the singing was always so important that I couldn't stop singing. But at one point, I just said, God, I have to stop. I have to stop for you. I need to do what you want me to do with my life. I can
And be true to yourself.
and be true to my inner voices. Yes, be true to my own intuition. But I always call it a God thing, because when I left, it was so hard to be giving up all those fancy stages and the fancy clothes and the fancy memories. And I was living in, life in the, what do they call that? Like the fast lane. And it was time for me to stop. There was nothing holding me there. And when I did, I went home, and it was tough to give it up, especially the money that would come from the contracts that I would sign in order to continue singing. And I left, and then I went to school. I went to broadcasting school in Minneapolis. And from there, because I figured, okay, no one's going to kick me off the stage or out of a studio if I turn 80 years old. But if I were on a stage, they would have canned me a lot faster than that. And I just didn't want to have that experience of someone saying to me, honey, you're getting a little long in the tooth here. Let's let you go. That's exactly what happened.
What an inspiring story.
Oh,
Truly inspiring. Wow.
well, yeah, I mean, and there were people that said, why are you giving up LA? My gosh. And I said, because no one I know lives here. No one I love lives here. I need to have my family, my home. I need to feel that I'm in touch with others and be able to go back to my personal church and just start over. And you can do that at any time in your life. You can always begin again when things are tough. You just have to face that rock hard bottom and get the help you need to bring you back up, and then you can rebuild your life. I've done it. So there it is. That's
Wow.
really
Wow.
what my book's
I think
about.
I think we can all relate to it's been said that Facebook, for example, is everybody's highlight reel.
It is.
You don't understand what's really going on in their life, that we all have disappointments, we all have
Yeah.
wishes, dreams that are unfulfilled, so
Well,
wow,
yes, and I know that I do have friends that actually pour their hearts out there. I'll pour my heart out in a message, a meaning on Messenger, but I try not to pour it out too much on the Facebook page, but I'm very true to form. Everything that I'm putting out there has been a part of my life. I have no reason to try to be something that I'm not.
good for
So,
you,
yeah,
good
be
for you.
honest. And you'll have your friends throughout your life. And that's what matters the most are your relationships. You get to a certain point in life where the rest of it, not so much. It's the relationships that you have that make you who you are. And for me, my strongest relationship is God first, family second, and then my colleagues third. So that's the way it works. Yeah.
Wow, thank you for
I don't
sharing.
know if that's a wow, but it works for me. Try to keep God in the center no matter what you do.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I'm thinking of, folks who may purchase the book and
Oh, yeah.
not your family, but for Christians or any believers out there who buy the book, I think what I hear you saying, Debra Lee, is that anyone can achieve the same peace and find the same answers that you have.
Yep. Yeah. It's a personal choice. And knowing that it's a choice, you will have to actually believe it within yourself. You can't, you're making a choice to go to God. And God will wait for you. It could take years. It could take months. He may watch you stumble and fall many, many times through many, many seasons, but God will always be there. That's the one constant that we can attain while we're alive is that God will always be there for us. So choose God, choose a better life, choose yourself to make yourself healthy and holy. It's holy is sort of, although it's saintly, it's also being wholesome. You can't get yourself into too much trouble if you're trying to live a holy life.
Well said. Well said. And
You know, I thought it was just going to fall out of my mind and my proud in my fingers and my writing and my, well, now we type on you've got your laptop or your regular, I don't know what you call it, but your keyboard. But it is not an easy thing to write a book, especially a memoir, because when you are writing about your life, you re-experience everything. If you're honest, you will re-experience once again. And in order to do that, you have to remain strong. Sometimes you have to live outside of the pages and look at the pages as though you are chronicling, chronicling, I think it is, someone else's life, and you're just writing the words down. You're dedicating yourself to being a servant of their words. That's how I was able to get through it. But it took me, I thought it would take me maybe a year and a half. It took me almost 4 years to
40
finish.
years, wow.
Not 40. Oh,
4,
that
4,
would have been something. It took me over 40 to live it all, but not the writing part.
but
But it
4
took me
years itself is significant,
4
wow.
years was significant, and I would have people saying, "How far along are you at this point?" And I would send it out to the editors and different things, and then have things critiqued back, and I'd rewrite it or try to make it more personal than it was sounding at the time. And I think I've attained it. I hope I have. There are some things that I learned from a very wise coach to follow this one rule that if you're not ready to completely talk about it, don't put it in your book. And so I do have some things in my life that I decided not to put into this book. Maybe in the next one I might address it, but for this one it's mainly about just holding God dear and following God. God is your compass and staying on that road, the road which straightens out. Actually, usually when you're not following God, you've got several winding roads, and you're going to the left and you're going to the right and you're going up and you're going down. You're doing all these crazy things. But once you have God as your constant and you're trying to seek the face of God, which should be straight in front of you, your road will straighten out. It may be a little more narrow than it was when you were a free spirit. But those are the things that we have to rely on when it's becoming more narrow. We're being protected. We're being showered with the grace of God, with the Holy Spirit, and with living a better life. So that's how I look at it when people say, oh, this is too restricting. Wait a minute here. You will learn to rest in that restriction, and you will eventually have everything that you ever imagined and more, because God has so much more to give you.
And I assume that's what you mean by walking in faith or walking by
Yes.
faith.
Well, for me, it is when the name of the book, Walk by Faith, means many things to me. I love the songs about walk by faith. As a worship director, we used to always um, lead church services with a song from the Promise Keepers called I Walk by Faith. And what it is for me is that literally, because of what happens to me after I straighten out and I found the love of my life and I'm living the way that is a godly way, and I'm singing in church and being a worship director, and then helping to bring others to God and all of the good things in my life. What happened to me is, and I was feeling so many blessings from the Lord. And one day I woke up, I got out of bed, I fell to my knees, and then I fell directly on my face. And I was completely paralyzed. And this was in 2006 during the Christmas time. And I had no ability to even try to stand. I had to pull myself, just grabbing my hands, my nails were pulling through my carpet to get me to a phone. And I had to call my husband, and I had to call work and let people know I wasn't coming in. And when I used to tease a lot with my boss, and I'd say, oh, I'm what he always had a comeback for me in any way. And I called him, and his name was John. And I said, John, I'm not going to make it in. I can't walk. He says, oh, really? I said, yeah, I can't walk. He says, well, why don't you crawl on in here and tell me about it? And normally, and I said, no, Jan, I said, that is funny, John, but it's really true. I really can't walk. And so then that began my many years of trying to find out what was wrong with me, being misdiagnosed, being gaslighted for having something that no one could figure out what it was. It wasn't showing up on the MRIs. There was no physical proof except watching me try to move. And it was very, very difficult. I was in and out of wheelchairs, and I had walking sticks, and I still use canes, and I have walkers and all of these things. And there are times when I still need to sit in a wheelchair, but at least I know what I have now. And I'm not going to tell anybody because it's laid out quite well in the book what happened to me and how long it took to receive a proper diagnosis, and then being told by doctors, gaslighting me right back after I've been to the Mayo Clinic, found everything out, and these doctors still insisted I did not have what I do have.
Wow.
I mean, talk about a gaslighting moment. So there were a lot of things that took place. One doctor told me, come back in 3 years and we'll talk about it. Had I listened to him, I'd be in a wheelchair for sure. Just no walk therapy, no nothing. Instead, I just kept fighting it and fighting it. Finally, there was in 2017 a really wonderful neurologist who got me started on a pilot program for a medication that I take once every 6 months. It used to be a cancer drug, and that's what keeps me on my feet. So literally, here's my book. I'll just show it to people. It says walk by faith with God as your compass, but the walk by faith part, oh, it's kind of shiny. There you go. The walk by faith part is literally that I literally, on a daily basis, I walk by faith. Each step I take, just like the song says, it is a deliberate, conscious step that I take every day.
Wow,
So,
how inspiring. Both
thank you.
a return to physically walking and also walking in your spiritual journey.
Yes, and that's why that's the name of the book, and people said, "Oh, that's so cliché." I mean, people hear that all the time. I said, "No, that's my book because I literally have to take each step by faith. And if you're sitting on the fence about your spiritual self, you just read my book. You'll find out if you still have problems, you can always contact me. There are several ways to contact me. They're all detailed in the book. And I would love to spend time talking to whomever may have an issue, understanding that God is there for them.
You're wonderful. And to those who are considering purchasing the book, I assume it's on Amazon and Barnes& and Noble. Is it everywhere that they would be seeking?
Yes, and you might even be able to find, well, you just type in my name, Debra Lee Fader, and the book will pop up on Amazon. It's in different, maybe more mom and pop type shops where people have asked me, do you want to leave a few books here? Anybody if there's a bookstore that's interested in having a few books, contact me. I'll make sure you get some. Yeah, and it's available and it's in some libraries. My goal is to get them into more libraries. Would be great to have. There's going to be a library book fair very shortly. And I think it's in the end of June. It's in Philadelphia, and yeah, my goal is to hopefully be cataloged by many different libraries all throughout the country and possibly throughout the world. So I have something to say. I have something to say.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, I won't be surprised if, readers won't indeed wanna get back in touch with you,
Good. That'd be
perhaps
good.
with questions and, hopefully as well to share their success stories
Thank you.
based on the advice that you have given.
You're so nice. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you. I know our time is coming to a close, Deborah Lee, but, before we break, are there any other thoughts that you wanna leave with our listeners and viewers today?
Just to, within your heart when you're doing yourself wrong, you know. And if you're in that space, it's a heavy and it's a dark space. Just find yourself a Bible and just start reading. What you can do, what I used to do when I was a kid, is I'd say, okay, God, lead me to where you want me to be, whatever you want me to read today. And I just put my finger right in I don't have my Bible with me, but I have my book. Just open up a page and I don't know what it's going to be. And I'll find whatever it was that I need. And of course, when you can someday, you can always, pardon me, you can always read the Bible at your own pace. You can also find them on apps on your phone, or if you use your laptop or your other devices, there are ways to actually audio listening of the Bible. And you can learn to make the Bible personal to you. I've had people say to me, the Bible just seems like it's an old and stuffy sort of document. I don't understand it. And so it's really, well, let's start at the beginning. We just take it apart, step by step, paragraph by paragraph, listen to it or see it or read it. And if you need a coach to help you understand it, that's even better, because you're creating a relationship with a mentor. So I think there's ways that you can express your spirituality. And when you find yourself reading the Bible, you are going to find that there isn't any subject in the world that is not in the Bible. It's all there. It's all written out for us to understand. Sometimes it takes a lot of thinking to figure it out. And theologians all over the world are still hammering it out on a daily basis as to what something might mean, because a lot of it is more, well, of course, it's inspirational, but it's also more of a riddle in some spaces. But if you're into history, you can, if there's a word you don't understand, look it up on your phone. I do it all the time. I watch the news, or I'm doing something, somebody says a word or an acronym of some sort, and I just use my phone and look up that word, and then before you know it, I understand what the subject is. And you can do that with the Bible. Same thing.
Great advice.
Thank you.
Debra Lee, thank you so much for being with us today. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you.
I hope that we get a chance to talk again sometime,
I
John.
do too. I do
Yes,
too.
you're a wonderful, wonderful podcaster.
Thank you. You're a wonderful guest. Thank
Oh,
you so
thank
much.
you. Well, God bless you, and give me a call if you want to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We've been speaking with Debra Lee Fader, author of Walk by Faith with God as Your Compass. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we look forward to having you join us for our next podcast.
Thank you. God bless.
You've been listening to the BrightWord Books Podcast, home of the literary community that celebrates creativity, inclusivity, and the transformative power of literature. Don't forget to subscribe so you'll never miss future episodes. Until next time, stay informed and stay engaged.